and go to those forums.
Oh boy, Matt already warned you. Don't talk crazy. Okay, everyone, welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. I am your honorary host for the second time. Ben will be back next week. He is traveling away from, I don't know, reliable interwebs and in a different time zone. So anyway, on deck tonight, we have Tyler Turner.
Hello, Internet.
And last but definitely not least, Matt Hopkins.
Hi, everybody.
All right. You guys know, I love this high energy, Matt.
That's right. Well, I got to find a topic.
You didn't find a good topic from the post you were just bumping?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
The post on Enos that I bumped?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys all have a topic. Tyler, I want to make you go first. You have a show and tell.
It is a show and tell. I want to show you, like, probably the best and most useful match award I've ever received.
Oh.
It's a little popper. And if you read the label on it, it's actually designed for airsoft, apparently.
Oh.
But, so, and it actually does. It falls down. I suppose you could, if you had an airsoft gun, shoot it down. I use it for dry fire. And the reason I like this is it's a 3D popper. You can put it anywhere as opposed to typical dry fire targets, which you hang on a wall. It's a 2D surface and all that. I can put this as a low target, work high to low transitions. I can put it, off to the side. It's really useful in a way that, just a target on the wall isn't. Now, not that they're not useful, but it's just been great. And I've used it for about 4 years now in dry fire. And I suppose you can source them from this company. It's TacTrainers.com. And I did go on their website before the show, and it looks like since then they've added a lot of products that are specifically marketed for USPSA and IDPA training, and they have other, just the round plates and stuff like that.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah.
How much did you look at the price? How much are those?
I didn't look at that, but
okay.
Cool. On the other side of things, it's just cool that would be offered as a match prize, in lieu of a plaque that you may or may not put on the wall. It may or may not be in a box in your basement. That's I thought that was a pretty unique and useful match award. So
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to see if those would be cost effective. Well, to plug Matt's section match, they started doing like tumblers, like Yeti types of mugs where they put your award on. That was the first place I think I'd ever seen those. I don't know if they'd been done elsewhere or not, but it was like actually a plaque you would use.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what? So we've got mini poppers, dry fire, or airsoft poppers. We got tumblers. Like, what other cool, useful stuff have y'all seen?
I think I got my first tumbler at Area 8, and it was like a small, like coffee type one, and that was the first time I saw it. And then it kind of took off. Like everybody's using it now.
Yeah.
But there's some point where you can get enough tumblers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
How many of the? They're great. I use them for giveaways all the time. Like I keep the ones that are kind of sentimental or whatever, and I think they're good. I think, I don't know, prize-wise, I think the poppers I won at Area 3 were probably the best prize I've won. They're most useful.
Actual poppers?
Yeah, it was actual poppers.
Yeah, that's a good prize.
It's a big and a small popper, so.
I looked at those because there was a couple of them, and I almost got one of those, and I'm like, in the trunk of my grocery getter, like, am I really going to fix that when it's already full of everything else? I'm like, I just use the round plates, but yeah.
Yeah. I use round plates a lot too, but they're way easier to set up.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. Tyler, that's interesting. I'm going to see if those are cost effective or not, and I will be recommending those to our section match, I think, next year.
I think a good idea if people needed ideas was like do a gun rug or something, because you can always use a gun rug and like put the place it was. Like you could do them kind of bulk, like first, second, third place on them, and you wouldn't have to do division specific or category specific. I know doing a lot of those, you would run into the quantities, and that would scale the price differently. But if you kind of did generic ones, first, second, third, you can use across all divisions and all categories and classes and everything. So that might be a good example of someone that they can use in this year coming up or one of the future matches.
Yeah, I think we all have enough plaques by now, and I think that like what Tyler's saying, I like something you'd actually get use out of, and then it kind of it's like something like, oh yeah, we'll look at that every time you dry fire, and if it has
it's cool, because every time I do use it, every time I look at it, I'm reminded of that match because it's got on the face of the steel, it has a sticker, with the match information and the year and everything. And this happens to be the 2016 North Carolina Championship, just to plug them.
I like it.
I think it's whoever came up with it they were really thinking.
I have a tumbler that says second place on it. And every time I look at that, I use like some choice words, and I'm like, that Matt Hopkins, like I know he has the first place
one. I was trying to find one here. This is the only one I have like on my desk.
I'm not gonna lie, like my second, I see that second place.
This is the one that made me the most mad. It's second place. I leave it on my desk.
Yeah. Dude,
I was like, God
when
damn.
I see that, yes, I'm like, oh, that.
I get mad every time I see it.
Yes.
It elicits a response every time.
I can't believe I let that Matt guy beat me. I'm like, oh, time to go dry fire. Yes,
exactly.
That works, sure. Good. I like it. Matt, did you find a topic yet?
No, I didn't. I got distracted.
Very sorry.
Joel, you're up.
I want to talk about something that makes me a little bit crazy, and that is
wait. Is this a trigger warning from Joel?
Not really. Not too crazy. More of a public service announcement. How's that? Right. Well, it's left-handed stage plans. So how many times you see a stage and you can start, it gives you the option to start on either the left or the right side, and you automatically go to your weak hand side and you just start walking the stage.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm left-handed. I'm obviously going to go to the right side and just start walking the stage, irrelevant of what the stage looked like, what the targets look like, how much movement there is. I would just like to suggest you should be looking at this stage from all possible ways to shoot it. And you're forming a plan for the way that flows the best, regardless of being left or right-handed or how many rounds your gun holds. Like, imagine you have a handgun that holds a 50-round magazine, and it doesn't matter. You could shoot equally well left or right. You just walk through, like, what would make the most sense to shoot these targets? What would be the fastest? What would be the easiest to set up in this position? That kind of thing. I'm thinking of, well, on most stages, I'll walk them through both ways, and then I might be shooting it the same plan as the right-handed guys, because that's the way that I think the stage flows the best. Or maybe I look at it from the other side, I'm like, oh, there's a specific thing. So I was thinking of earlier today, Matt, remember 2000? I'm distracting you again. We're looking for topics. The 2019 Oklahoma section match, the last stage we shot that had like accelerator in the middle of it, where you could start on the left. It was yeah. So I looked at that. I considered shooting it from both ways, and I didn't have really a preference. And then I boiled down to two things I looked at. One was the first position I was going to start in on the very right side. I felt like there was a very specific spot I wanted to stand in that let me shoot 2 arrays of targets with just moving my upper body. And I felt like if I came into that position from the other side, it was tough to find the spot. And I felt like I would have been kind of fishing around. It didn't, for whatever reason, just for me or maybe my height or whatever, I just didn't like it. So if I could start there and be in like the perfect spot to just draw my gun and smash targets, like that was what I wanted. And then I remember the middle section, it had almost like an accelerator setup. And there was I probably won't describe this very well, but it's kind of like a wall that you had to go around to get to that. And if you would have been running from the left to the right, you would have stopped, you would have shot a position, running super hard, stopped, and then ran back the way you came and kind of go forward a little bit. Well, when I started on the right side, I basically shot targets. I was running, I slowed down just a little bit so you don't run into the wall, and then I just kept my momentum going into that position, if that's making sense. I'm like, oh, so those two things decided my way to shoot that stage. And it turns out on that one, I did start on my right-hand side, of my weak side. But I was open to like either plan. Whatever plan made the most sense, that was what I was going to do. It did not matter to me how many rounds my gun hold or which like side I favored. So that was a specific example I had today. But I just think like when you're looking at stages, look at all the options. Even stages that they set up to be like really symmetrical, they rarely are. I mean, we're humans. You try to get things close, but it's never really close. So maybe you prefer just a presentation on one side, or maybe the walls, it feels like it's a little bit tighter on this side, where maybe you'd rather set up there, or maybe it's gonna like you're gonna be leaning really hard for the last shot, so maybe you'd rather end there because you think that's a tougher position to get out of. So
I think it all comes down to the stage, but yeah, definitely, if you do see that a lot where they just blindly like walk so the reload is way easier. I'll always try to go at least and look at the other way.
Yeah.
Just to make sure there's like if the target coming in from the opposite side of like your gun side makes a lot more sense going one way. Mm-hmm. That's just an example, but that's one thing I'll look at for sure.
Yeah. Something that does make me crazy, if you want a little bit of a trigger warning, is when they walk up to that stage they've never shot before, and you see them look like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and they start miming a reload, and they have no idea what's on the rest of the stage. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have no idea what you have. Like, just walk through, find where all the targets are. After you find the targets, like, capacity is the last consideration I have. That does make me a little crazy.
Yeah. And on a somewhat related note, I kind of learned a lesson the other day, or the last match I shot, which was we had one lefty on our squad, and for whatever reason, I decided I was going to shoot the lefty plan.
Yeah.
And I discovered how incredibly obnoxious it is to try to walk a stage
when everyone else is getting in your
way.
As
a left-handed person, when you have like 13 right-handed shooters on the stage with you. So I learned that I should probably be more courteous, and we should probably be more courteous towards our poor left-handed friends, because I was getting really irritated, like running it. I'd been standing there for a while, like doing like stuck in motion, like, in a position. And then you have a flood of people coming through, like you're getting lapped. Some guys walk by twice while you're in the same position. Like,
I actively try to look out for that and like pause where I'm at to let them come through. During the stage walkthrough, I try to at least notice that if that's happening. I also notice if like some dude is running opposite of the other squad mates, they'll get like 50 times more walkthroughs on the stage than everybody else will too. Just how it happens. It's give and take, I guess.
Yeah, my friend Cody calls it my fast pass. Like if you're at a movement park, where I just walk through, I'm like, oh, excuse me here 1 second, I'm just gonna cut into the line.
Yeah.
But also somebody like and it's a little bit off the topic, but if you see somebody else doing some random plan, like, hey, maybe I'll just like check out, like, hey, what are you doing? And there's always a chance that they saw something that you didn't see. So I just like when you walk up to a stage, like I always ask my homeboys, like, hey, what are you guys doing? And you might have the dumbest idea, and you might have the smartest idea, but I'll be interested in what everybody's doing, just because you never know. You might not. Their brain might work differently than yours does, and they just saw something that you didn't see.
Yeah.
So. Good.
Yeah.
Matt, do you have a topic?
I don't.
This is the moment of reckoning.
I don't. I've been distracted the whole time.
I know, it's my fault.
I found one that I know we've done it before, like pre-stage rituals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know we've done it, but I think it'd be good to talk about fresh season coming up.
Yeah. Do you mean like make readies, or what do you mean?
Like, I think let's be specific on like you're walking from one stage to the other. What happens? Like your squad is done with stage 1 and you're walking to stage 2. What do you guys do from then forward? So not talk about before the match starts or day before or anything of that. So like from stage 1 to stage 2, you're walking over there. What do you guys kind of do? Or do you have rituals or kind of like a checklist you run down to make sure you're not forgetting anything or anything like that?
I will say one thing, knock on wood. I don't know that I've ever shot a stage without full magazines. Everyone's going to have some kind of a nervous tick. And mine is I don't care. They'll all go on my belt when I get done. Like after I shoot, that's fine. But after I'm done, every magazine, regardless if I use it or not, it gets taken off. I just put it on the table in front of me. I just look it over like, yep, 10 rounds. That can go back on my belt. Yep, 10 rounds. That can go back. Oh, that one's partial. Nope. And then I'll go about cleaning whatever you have to. But that is one thing. And then like before, when I'm a couple shooters down from my run, when I'm like getting ready, where I'm starting to visualize and stuff, it just makes me feel better. Some people describe me as, I suppose, a little bit of OCD, but I don't leave anything to chance. So I'll just check my magazines again real quick. Like, yep, they're all good.
You've never had one where it was short loaded?
That does not happen.
All right, that's good. I would not suggest to put used magazines back on your belt.
And that's why I mention it. I know some people that don't.
I've never done it, and I've never had a short mag either. So I don't put used mags back on my belt.
I remember you saying that actually. No, and I just pull
I don't ever do it, and so anything on my belt has the proper amount of rounds in it.
That's funny you mentioned that, Joel, because I'm the same way. I'm a compulsive mag checker. Like between stages, after my mags are loaded and on the belt, I may run through all 5 on my belt. I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times sometimes. It's just a compulsion.
I do
all right,
too.
It's a problem.
Well, you're gonna have. I would say most people are gonna have a nervous tick of some type. How many times have you seen the guy that's locking and unlocking his holster? Like
tons of times.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna have a nervous tick, have a nervous tick that could not possibly get you DQ'd and that could be productive. The other thing I do is I get dry grips. Like I probably get 200 dry grips sometimes at a match where I'm just like standing around and I'll just like my firing hand goes to the gun and my support hand just goes where I want it to go, and I just move both my hands together. It might not be full speed, but just as I'm sitting there relaxing or I'm listening to the MD give some like their speech or before the match or something, you got to have a nervous tick. And I don't want to be like messing around with the lock on my holster or something that could cause problems for me. Like I'll check my mags.
One thing I observed Nick Giannatola do. By the way, where are you, Nick? We miss you. Like
good point. Yeah.
But one thing I've observed him do is do like he'll snatch the first mag out.
Yes.
Like present it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I thought that was really good. It's something I adopted by watching him because I thought that, that's really smart. I watched him do it a bunch. So I guess that's his compulsion. But I think everyone has something just to that, for lack of a better word, that static energy, that nervous energy, something to discharge that is helpful. One thing I'd say I do when I'm walking up to my next stage is I want to remember whatever mental cues are about that stage, like as far as plan, because that seems to be what I stress about is plan. Like, so right away before anything else, I want to basically reorient myself, wipe the slate clean, and remember what it is about this stage that's important. Reload points, stuff like that. So I'll run through that several times, as well as prep the equipment, put on the grip chalk, all that kind of stuff. There's a routine, and I think it's something you learn. Comfort, it's a comfort thing.
So you and I are wired the same, I think, in a lot of ways. But yes, so when I do my walkthrough the day before a match, I will pretty much come up with stage plans. I could change them if I want to, but for the most part, I have my mind made up how I'm going to shoot everything. If it's a memory stage, I 100% know exactly how I'm going to shoot it, down to the order, the mag changes, everything. And so on a match where I'm walking the stages the day before, I sleep so much better that night because I don't have any not knowing. So I think like, hey, I already know my plans. I'm not worried about there seeing any stages that I'm not prepared for.
Yeah.
I know exactly where the targets are. I know what's expected of me. I know where any long shots are. I don't have to be like worried about if I'm up first in the stage. I already know my plan. And then I'm like, my gear, I've maintained my gear. So when I want for nothing. I have more food and drink than I need. Or like I've got extra stuff just to give away. I've got more than enough sunscreen. I've got hydration. I've got plans. So then when I get there, my only concern on match day is just like how I want to behave and shoot the targets. I have no other concerns.
What if you just can't find your magazines like right before a stage starts?
Oh.
That's why I compulsively check through 1 to 5.
They're not even on your belt though.
I have a friend of mine that got to the
match
without
I'm gonna dream about that tonight.
I did that. I hid them from myself in my bag.
Yeah.
A friend of mine that I won't mention that Matt might know forgot his match magazines and his ammunition back in his hotel room. That my friends and I made a speedy a drive to go pick up one time. A very close friend that I think highly of, so I won't mention his name. But yeah. So anyway,
was I at that match?
Yes, you would have been at that match. You might not have been aware of the situation, but you would have been there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I was aware of it.
Yeah, I forgot my magazines, or I hid my magazines from myself, and then I had one of my friends inspect my range bag, and they retrieved them for me. So.
Well, this is really good, and we were just talking about how we're a lot alike in some ways, but this is what you mentioned earlier is something I'm completely the opposite of you.
Okay.
And it's as far as making plans the day before, when I go a day ahead to walk stages, and this is a specific change that I consciously made the change, because I used to do that too. I used to go and meticulously, like I made a plan down to the reload, down to the sight picture, and what I found was like I never slept. When I did that, I never slept the night before a match because I would run plans in my head all night long. I could not turn it off. And
okay.
Right. It was bad. Like I could not turn it off. And so I said, something's got to give. And so just at one major, I decided like, I'm going to figure out where everything lies on the ground. Like I'll know where the targets are. And if there's anything weird, I'll look at it. If there's an activator sequence, I'll look at that and understand it, but I'm not going to like firm up a plan until, I'll get there early, but I'm not going to make an actual plan until the morning of, because, and it has helped. I can actually sleep at night before the match now. So, that's one thing that's one way we differ.
Okay.
I don't know. This is actually a good topic for something else, so I'm not going to go into it a lot, but I think there is some mindset changing in the sport about what gets done on the day before a match, like Tyler's saying. Like, I'm actually going to save this for another topic, but I think there's a shift happening in the sport right now, at least in the low cap divisions or the group of shooters I know.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. I'll do some more thinking on it and maybe bring it up at a future podcast.
Ooh, now I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Good.
Sweet. I don't have to think of another topic now for a while.
I don't even care if you have a topic or not. It's just nice having you on, dude. Okay. Well.
Do we have questions?
We do. We have a question. Okay. Ben, with production and now carry optics being both minor-only scoring, do you foresee a time when major scoring is a thing of the past? It just seems to me that it cannot matter in one division and not another. Another question, do you see a time where they quit penalizing single-action only firearms? The question is obviously biased the fact that I shoot 1911 and 2011 minor platforms that are not able to shoot the broad range of divisions that striker-fired pistols are allowed, production or carry optics, because he has a single action trigger. So 2 parts. The first one, do we foresee a time when major scoring is a thing of the past?
I think I can see it. I don't think they're going to get there, though. The biggest thing with the board, like that I've recently heard, is they're not going to do a rule change, and this is a major rule change that would make a lot of people's equipment obsolete overnight. So if they take major power factor scoring out of limited, for example, all those 40 caliber guns no longer are competitive and everybody would have to buy new guns. So I could see them doing it, but it would have to have a very clear, very expressly written down timeline. Like, in 2030 we are no longer going to have major. Something like that. Like, it's going to have to take years for that to ever happen. But I can definitely see that happen in the future.
Yeah, I think it's even like we talk about limited 10, but I mean, it's tough to take divisions away because if somebody spends their hard-earned money, and let's say, Tyler, you buy 2 guns that you set up if I can talk, specifically for limited, you get like
10.
2, yeah, whatever, or maybe limited 10 or limited, whatever. But you build up 2 40 caliber guns for limited, popular division, 2 custom, fill in the blank, whatever custom manufacturers. Let's say they're $4,000 a piece. You got extra mags, all this stuff. And then next year it's like, hey, by the way, we're changing limited. It's only going to be minor now. Major doesn't matter. Like, that would be super frustrating if you had, guns that you'd spend a lot of money and time getting them all set up and just right, and they're all of a sudden obsolete. That would be super frustrating to the membership.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably the number one thing they take into account when they make a rules change with the current board from everybody I've talked to.
Yeah, and I think that's the right thing to do, to be considerate of people, especially, like, you can't expect people to buy a new set of guns every couple years because you're changing around the divisions. So I like, real talk, I understand why they add divisions, but don't take divisions away. I mean, maybe I don't necessarily love that, but if you've spent your hard-earned money and you've shot a division for a couple years and you're emotionally attached to it, or let's say you built single stack guns and no longer single stack's a thing. Like, I would be quite angry if I had, guns set up for a specific, division, and they're now no longer competitive, and now I'm just going to have to sell them or shoot them for fun.
Yeah. So. Well, and I have a little bit different take. I kind of interpreted the question as, like, will 40 cal or major scoring, like, go away or die out organically, like participation wise.
Oh yeah.
And I think it will organically. I think there will always be limited minor as far as USPSA rules. I think there will always be. Did I say minor? I think there will always be major.
Major. I know what you meant.
Because it's one of the 3 legs is DVC. Like, I don't think they're going to take power out of the equation. I think just market demand will take care of it, as it should be. There will always be guys who want to shoot open major or limited major, and that's great. But we've seen in law enforcement, 40, everyone, they are dropping 40 everywhere, every kind of agency. It's already become just a niche round. Like, I've said this before in jest, but now I actually mean it. Like, the only purpose for 40 cal, 40 Smith & Wesson, is to shoot limited major in USPSA. That's the sole reason anyone would own a 40, legitimately. So I think the market's taking care of it. I think it wouldn't surprise me if limited minor started seeing a little uptick in participation. Not a lot, because I think most of those guys who would be interested in that are going to go carry optics. I think the minor divisions, the minor only scoring divisions, will continue to dominate, continue to grow. I fully expect carry optics to be the biggest division by participation in just a few years.
I could see that too. Well, I think part of the charm of minor is being able to use inexpensive factory ammo. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, when I started, I shot white box 115 when I first started, years and years.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years.
Speaking for myself, the idea of limited major is appealing to me. Like, I think that would be a fun game to play, but I'm not willing to pay the price of loading 40. Having a second caliber to load, I'm just not interested in that. And I think a lot of people are probably in that boat.
Yeah.
So,
now, what was the second part? Like, will single action guns go obsolete?
Yeah. Well, they'll quit penalizing single action only firearms. The question is, so basically allowing. He shoots a 1911 and a 2011 in minor. They're not able to shoot the broad range of divisions that striker-fired pistols are allowed. So, like, carry optics or production.
That's only 2.
Well, they're not penalized. There's a place for them to play.
I would agree with you.
There's actually tons of places for them to play.
Steel Challenge, 3-gun. Yeah,
even within USPSA. I mean, shoot limited, shoot single stack, shoot L10, like shoot open if you're really crazy. If you got a tack light on your railed 1911.
I think the question is like he wants to be able to use an SA gun in production.
That's really what That's really what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just not the heart of production. So there's a different division built for that gun.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you have like a 9mm single stack, that's perfect. Like that single stack division, you could shoot major or minor, and I'm sure there's advantages to shooting both of them. It varies from match to match, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, if they change production away and let SA guns in there, that's one of the legs production stands on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably not going to make a lot of people happy with this, but I think 10 round in production is another one of the fundamentals of the division.
I agree with you 100%. Take that away, it's limited minor.
Exactly. It's very close to it, yes.
Yeah. Shooting IPSC, at IPSC Nationals, all the plans for production and standard are the same.
Yes.
Those guys have like 2 or 3 extra rounds over 15, which doesn't change anything. I ran the same plans as the standard guys on every stage. Exactly. I think there was maybe one difference.
At best, they have 3 extra rounds than production, unless they're shooting minor also.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're shooting 10 rounds. You have some steel, or maybe you're shooting. Yeah, you can't be a slob, so it rewards you having good gun handling, like ammo management. So not like going 1-for-1 on steel targets. You can't just spray a bunch of extra rounds to make up. So yeah, production has its own charm. And also, like I was saying, I wouldn't want to phase out, limited major guns because of those guys that are invested in that. I think limited and production being the highest, participation numbers for those divisions, I wouldn't mess with a good thing. Like if I owned USPSA and I have 2 divisions that are the highest participation number, why would you mess with that and possibly lose those numbers or make those people, get upset?
Yeah, I think if the board ever talks about at least those 2, I'm sure there's maybe 1 or 2 more, as a staple or foundation for production. They need to have a hard conversation about that.
Yeah. This is a good time to say Matt Hopkins for president.
In 4 years, right?
Yeah.
You never know. That's a long ways away.
Yes, a lot could change. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was another bang up podcast as usual. Appreciate you guys coming on, especially on such short notice. Listeners, if you have a question, please send it. Go to bensteger.com. Send Ben your question. He would love to hear from you.